Hello, everyone, and welcome to this very special bonus episode of Positive Forward Motion. This is your host, Denise Scattergood. Hey, you may have noticed that the music in this podcast episode is different than my usual theme music, and that's because, in honor of my interview today with Kinga Augustyn, a virtuoso concert violinist and critically acclaimed recording artist, Kinga was kind enough to let us use her recording of Piazzolla 5 from her latest album, La Passion. Be sure to keep listening after the outro at the end of this episode to hear more. I am so happy you're here to listen in as Kinga shares her story and reminds us that we are in charge of our own lives. I have found Kinga's story to be especially inspiring during Women's History Month.
Hello, hi everyone. I'm Kinga Augustyn and I'm a violinist. I perform concerts all over the US and abroad. And I was born in Poland. I came to the US to study at the Juilliard School. I came on my own and I came to study and I didn't think of much more and I didn't know how long I was going to stay in the US. But then, you know, um, an opportunity after an opportunity. And then I started building my life here in the US. And that's how I'm still here and in the US. And yes, my story is long, but and then of course there are many challenges. Everybody faces challenges, but wouldn't be any success, or there would be nothing to talk about. There would be nothing interesting if there weren't any challenges and stories. So here we are.
That's that's right. And you took the first step. So I remember when we met and your energy and excitement on stage and off stage was the same. And I just felt it and I thought, "Oh my goodness." And coming to the US on your own, young girl, you had a goal, you had a dream, but it was that first step. And I am going to tie that into positive forward motion because sometimes it's just that thought of the first step, and people get stuck in should I, shouldn't I, should I, shouldn't I. So, did you go through that? Was it do I? I'm sure you had opportunities to go to the US or maybe even other places. So, what gave you that gumption to say, "All right, I'm going to go. I'm going to take that first
Well,
step."
that's really all you can take, right? You can take another step, one step at a time, as we say. But I actually, I didn't think that much of it. I came to the US to study, and really wasn't my plan. It wasn't my original plan to come to the US. I already started studying at a wonderful school, a wonderful college in Germany, and I was very happy there. I was finishing high school, and then I was also during that last year. Well, I did 2 years of high school in 1 year, and then at the same time I was also commuting to Germany, and I was studying there, and that was very challenging, of course, but it was great. I had a great teacher. I was very happy there, and I planned to stay there, but then things happened, and then I finally came. I suddenly, came to the US. I wasn't planning it really, but then, I guess it was meant for me to be, because I don't know. It's just what happened, and then my story started being built from there on, from then on, and yeah, and then I'm still here, and so it's step after the step, one step at a time, and then you build your story from one thing, from a situation that you're in, which could be a good or a bad situation. Of course, New York was very exciting. It was very overwhelming too for me. It was too much, as people say, and I actually, after the first year, I didn't um I didn't really even want to come back. I didn't like it. There were many things that were great, but there were also things that I didn't like, and so far away from my mom, from my family, I wasn't too happy. But then I started building things up here, so one step after another step, then schooling. Of course, I went through all the schooling, some competitions and recordings, concerts. Concerts are like the most important thing. Concerts and recordings are also really, really important. So I've been doing all that, and you know I am in charge. Like, I know what I want to do, and like, and I'm pursuing my dream. I have goals, and I'm doing what I want to do. But I also have a lot of choices, and so I have to make a lot of decisions, and I could go in many different directions, but I'm sticking to the one that I chose for myself. But it's, you never really know exactly, what's going to happen. And then when something happens that you are not expecting, it's a detour. It could be a detour, which could be a good thing. But I guess you have to stay on top of things to make decisions for which you will be responsible for, and you take it from there.
Decisions in which you will be responsible for. That is well said. Well said. And I love that you said, I am in charge and sticking to what you choose. And I think it's a really great lesson for the listeners. And again, we're going to tie in the Women History Month because we, as women, we've come a long way and we didn't always have all the choices and we weren't able to make the decisions. But now that we have better choices and we can make decisions and more things are open to us, to remember that ultimately it is our choice to pick the road that we want. And when we spoke a couple weeks ago, we did a little pre-interview and got to know each other again. I wrote something down that I love that you said, and I want you to elaborate. You talked about if your goals are vague, right? So I love that because right now you're saying you're in charge. You need to stick to something. It is your decision. So elaborate a little bit that you said something about vague goals, vague experiences, and I really loved your philosophy there.
Well, vague experiences come from vague visualizations and vague plans, not knowing exactly what you want. And it takes a long time to really know what you want, because of so many choices that there are. You have a choice every single moment of your life. You can go left, you can go right. Every single moment you have a chance to make a decision. And if you don't know exactly like what you want, you don't need to know. I've learned that I don't need to know exactly how I'm gonna get somewhere, but I need to know what I want. And then I need to trust my intuition. I need I like trusting my intuition. Like, I'm not always doing that. And sometimes, I mean, and it could be related to many things, but when I don't follow my intuition, when I let other people make decisions for me, and then then these aren't my decisions, and that throws me off a certain path I'm on. And then it creates that that uncertainty in my own picture of what I want, and then if it's not clear to me anymore, then what is the result that I'm gonna get? It's also going to be a vague, unclear result. So this is what I would say about this.
I so appreciate that. And I'm sure, again, men and women can all relate, but especially Women's History Month. And let's talk about that because you said your decision, your intuition. When you second guess yourself and take the turn where maybe other people are telling you to go, you start to feel that uneasiness. I kind of think of it like riding a wave. When you're riding the wave of life and you're on your mission and on your goal, it feels good. You're following that intuition. And sometimes we second guess and we listen to someone else or go against how we feel, and it's like we're thrown off the surfboard. And then you're treading water and it's
It's exhausting, and it
exhausting.
has happened to me many times. Many times people have
Mhm.
told me what to do. I have to say that I really, really hate when somebody says to me, "You should do this. You should do that." I really hate it. It's just, it's just you can suggest to someone what they could do. You can, well, the best is really if you can help them discover who they are. That's really the best. If you can help with that, but if you can't, then you should not say to someone, you should do this, you should do that, because it's just not going to be them. It's not. And life is actually not that long. Life is short, or, well, it can be long, but every moment is precious. So every moment of someone else, telling you what to do is not your life anymore so much anymore. It turns into something else that you may not want. Maybe it is going to be better for you, but is that really going to be your decision and something that you're happy with? Not really. So I have learned not to listen too much to what other people say, and it took me a long time to learn that. And my mom says, oh, now you tell me, oh, my mom says I should have been much wiser when I was when I was younger. I shouldn't have listened to anybody, my mom says. And then so I tell her, so mom, even now, somebody tells you, you should do this, you should do that. No, what do you want to do? Like, at whatever. Of course, sometimes there are limitations. Sometimes we cannot do everything that we want to do, at least not yet, or not at the moment. But if if we have clarity in regards to what it is that we want, then it's much more probable that we are going to get there. you know that we are going to take the right steps, the steps of our path. Everybody has a story. Everybody that's here has a story. And I read in actually another violinist's bio, and I don't remember much more about it, but she said, and she's a wonderful violinist. Her name is Jennifer Cole, and I don't listen to her very much on it actually, but I did see her bio, and I remember seeing something like that there is a place for everybody in this world, you know, and I guess that's what I remember. There's a place for everybody. So from that on, yes. So if there's a place for everybody, then we should be able to create and do what we find right for ourselves, and that which will be a reflection of ourselves. We should be able to create our lives based on who we are. There is a place for us. There's a place for everybody. So that is actually a big topic, and that goes into not imitating anybody else, not doing what somebody else is doing or what somebody else is telling us to do. We should stick to ourselves. We should stick to our gut. We should listen to our intuition. We should, yes, I just said what I said I don't like, but listening to ourselves, to what we want, is good.
Yes. And you feel lighter and freer and happier, and you get to appreciate that if you make a decision and it goes right, okay, it was all on me. If you make a decision and it takes you
It's
down
on
a
me as
path
well,
that
but it's on me as well.
I'm not going to say it's wrong, yeah, it's a learning lesson. And I love even that your mom shared, oh, when I was younger, I wish I would have done what was important to me and not
Yeah.
listen to others. And I love your advice to say, but you can start doing that right now. So for anyone out there listening that's going, oh, 10 years ago, I wish I this or I wish I that. It's today, it's right now, and having that clarity of what you want. So I love that you said that. And you have that, oh, you just had that focus. And it even shows in your face and your eyes that you go, just know what you want and keep going in that direction. Because if it's vague, you're going to go all over and you may finally wind up, but it's going to
And
be the
I've
long
gone through
way.
that. I've gone through that,
Um,
so I speak from
yes,
experience. But,
good. Yes. So
well,
go ahead, continue. Sorry.
you talked about, well, this is about women and women empowerment. And first of all, I want to say that I actually grew up without a father. My father died when I was 6 years old. So actually, what I know is, there are many things that I was never aware of till very recently. You know, I grew up seeing a strong woman, my mom, who raised two kids on her own. We were not rich, and she did it all on her own. And I never thought, it never crossed my mind, that there would be less opportunities for women. It just never crossed my mind till I started reading about it a few years ago, or hearing about it in the US. I'm sure it's the same in Poland too, and other countries, but it just never crossed my mind. So I grew up thinking that I have to do this and that on my own. I can't I can't hope for other people to do it for me. I have to do it on my own. So um, I know also that, and there have been wonderful people on my path that have helped me along the way. Without people, without whom, like, I wouldn't be where I'm at now, and I wouldn't be heading where I'm heading without. So it's important to have the right people, the right support in your life. But ultimately, it's people who, if they are really, really wise, then these are people that are just going to help you do what you want and what you consider right for yourself. They will not interfere with your goals, with yourself.
And you are sorry to interrupt, but we're the sum of who we surround ourselves with. So whether it's in a relationship, it's in your goals, it's business, it's friends. I have a saying that, when we meet someone, and let's say it's a friend, and they're a good friend, and we're close, and we're happy with them, and we're moving forward, and we have each other's best
Mhm.
interest at heart. And then if that friend starts making me feel more bad than good, then I say, it's time to choose a new friend. And people will say, you're cold. And I go, you chose them to be in your life. And if for some reason it isn't helping you and it feels more bad than good, then unchoose them, because this is your life. This is your direction. And I'm wondering, as an accomplished violinist, and you're an international and you're a recording star, there may have been people that you came in contact with and you thought, oh, they're going to help me, and they're adding so much value, and you're helping one another. But then when you realize it's no longer serving, sometimes it's hard for people to let go. Have you encountered that, where maybe you
Of
had to
course,
say,
and on
yeah.
multiple levels, um, and in many different situations, different kinds of people. Of course, that involves all kinds of relationships. Also a boyfriend wasn't right, that affected me, my music making as well. That has happened too, and musicians that I work with. For me in general, like, I especially love working with musicians who do it for the sake of art, of music. I don't like too many extra plays. I don't like trickiness, and it all sometimes happens. I don't like that. I like when it's pure and when it's about music, and when we join forces to get a great result as musicians. I like that, but it's not always like that, and for various reasons. But yes, there have been people, and there have been also people who with whom I was friends for a certain period of time, and then for whatever reason I wasn't anymore. I mean, sometimes it's also that we were very, very close, and then they moved to a different country, and then we just weren't that close anymore. Like, for example, that has happened with most of my roommates throughout college. I, for some reason, I always become best friends with my roommates, which is, I know it's a very strange thing. Usually people don't, but I tend to become really close friends with roommates. So one of my roommates from college now moved back to Spain, and we just don't talk so much anymore. We do talk, a couple times a month we talk, but not as much as before. But when we were living together, when we went to the same school, we spent so much time together, and of course we affected each other. Her way of thinking, her way of being affected me a lot. I remember that like when I was very stressed, I really actually I liked her calmness. I liked how she was, how she like how she made me feel, how calm and all that, you know so but then she moved to a different country, and we just didn't continue that, being that close of friends. I mean, we are still, and we are always going to be very close, like 10 years of
Mhm.
friendship doesn't go to
There's always a
trash, but
connection.
things, depending on like what happens in your life, like things change, people will change, and but with some you will always be friends, and some will always have, at least you can stick to the good memories, and if those were really valuable friendships. And actually most of my friendships are like are long-term friendships, and they are valuable. And even if I don't talk to this person every day, I think of them. I remember like our experiences together. I remember what we learned from each other. I remember what I learned from that person, you know. And I also remember things that I did not like about someone, and and if I saw that I didn't want to be someone, then I didn't want to follow a certain path that I thought, then I
Right.
separated from that path. But that doesn't also mean, I mean,
It's good.
actually, well, and that comes from something that I heard somewhere else. A friend sent me a video of someone else saying that everybody, there's no person that is only bad or only good, everybody has both, but it's what you choose, like as I said at the beginning of our conversation, like it's what you choose. You have a choice every single moment, every second of your life, to go right or left, so you choose what you want. Things happen, but you choose. Generally, you are in charge. It's good to be in charge. So you know if you talk to me on a day that I'm just not feeling very well, then I might have little to say. Although I always people well actually, yeah, well, friends always say that if I'm not talking, that means something is wrong. But everybody has a good and a bad side, but it's what you choose. And of course, some people are naturally uh, great people. I believe people are generally good. I believe in that. But sometimes things happen, and they choose something that's not good, and they follow that, and they could fall into that, and then have less choices of coming out from there.
Mhm.
So it all depends.
I agree. I believe people are inherently good. And I love how you shared choices and what we gather from one another and how we can help each other along the road and moving forward in our life. Again, I met you, gosh, I'm thinking it was maybe 10
It was
years. I
10
mean,
years ago. Yes,
it's been a
2011, I
while.
think that's when it was.
And right, I saw you came out with a new album and you reached out, and I was so excited. I reached out going, "Hey, do you
Of
remember me?" And
course.
you're like, "Yes." And it was that one encounter and we made an impact. And I think that's what you're sharing in that message too from anyone. I mean, you live in New York. I'm originally a New Jersey girl even though I live out here in California, but just the smile, a hello, a kind word, an opening of a door, looking someone in the eye can make a
It can
difference
make a huge
in
difference.
that positivity that we have and we shine and we share. And music, I mean, you help to spread such positivity and such goodness through the artistic side of Kinga. And I always wonder, because I'm not a musician, but I wonder what if you didn't follow that path. Like, this is your path and this is your passion, and I'm sure it wasn't easy. And I when we met, I think I shared with you, I grew up, my uncle was an accomplished
Yes, I remember
violinist,
that.
and I often thought, if he didn't follow that and went off to be a dentist because somebody told him you're smart and you need to be a dentist, you might not make it as a violinist, how that would have changed the course of his life on how he felt as a human, right? And not fulfilling that side. So when did it's that when did you first realize, but you stayed on this path of becoming an international accomplished violinist. Is there a moment in time where you said, I don't care how hard it is, I'm sticking to it because if I do anything else, I'm not going to be happy? Did you have that clarity at a moment in time, or was it all of the little pieces together?
None of that actually, but going back to your uncle, if he had become a dentist or someone else, then he just wouldn't have been happy. It's just it's that. So we we do when we have this luxury to make choices for ourselves, when nobody interferes in a way that's not positive, then we follow a path of what we want, and who we believe that we are. So I've always known that I would be a violinist. It was just clear for me that yeah, that's what this was going to be. I do remember wondering. I was probably about 9 years old, and I started playing when I was 8 years old, almost eight. I I started thinking when I was nine, what do you do to get that title of a soloist? How do you get that title? I thought about that, but then I thought, I don't know, and does it really matter? I didn't talk to anyone about it. Does the title really matter? I'm just gonna play, and I'm just gonna do what I love to do. I didn't practice much at first, but which kid do you know a kid that practices much? And not very many. I didn't practice much, and I have to say it, I was the worst in my class at first. The first year, after the first, well, in Poland we have juries twice a year. So after 3 months of playing the violin, 4 months, after 4 months of playing the violin, I had my first jury, and I got an A minus. And I was the worst. Everybody else got an A. But then I got so upset. How come there was this little boy, this little guy that I started competing with. How come he got an A and I got an A minus? He's so short, he's so little, and he got an A and I got an A minus. I started practicing more. So it was actually a positive experience. It was a negative thing that turned into a positive experience. And I would never think that a competition is a good thing, but it was more of like competing with myself and like proving that I can do better. It was a childish way of doing it. I don't like the idea of competing, because how can you really compete art with other people? Art is personal, and so it wasn't that. But yeah, so I just always wanted to do it, and then just naturally the violin became more and more interesting to me, and the more I play it, the longer I play it, the more there is to do with it, the more I can do with it. It's a great tool of expressing myself. So I just always knew that this would be something that I would do, and I just never thought otherwise. It never crossed my mind. It also never crossed my mind that I would study in Poland. I just never even thought about it. And then I never studied in Poland. I mean, college. I mean, college or university. I only finished high school there, and earlier than 1 year early, as I already said before. And I left, and so but all challenges, of course a lot of challenges have happened along the way, and but I never felt that I wanted to give up. I never felt that. Of course I've had my down moments, and doubts. Everybody has doubts, at some point. And and then yeah, there was a time that I was in college, and I was just so upset about something that didn't go well. And I said to my best friend, I'm going to quit. And I said, I'm going to start waiting tables. I'm going to do that. And then my friend started laughing at me. He says, You are going to drop the dish. You are going to bring the wrong dish. You're going to do it all wrong. You cannot do it. And she laughed at me. And she's like, You can only play the violin. She said that. But then I thought, okay, then I guess I'm not gonna wait tables. And it was only a moment of doubt. It wasn't like I was gonna change a profession. But on the other hand, I've always been interested in a lot of other things outside of music. So I actually I don't want to say that I regret, but I wish I had taken some more non-musical subjects in college. It wasn't it was a little bit of a tricky situation because yeah, I came from Poland, and um, I was an international student. So and Juilliard is a conservatory, so I didn't really have easy access to other classes, non-musical classes, but I always missed all that. I was always good at everything, science, all that. I was good in high school. It was just all very interesting to me. I just liked a lot of things. And until today, I am interested in a lot of things. So a year ago, when the pandemic started, I thought, okay, now I finally have time. to dig into a little bit of quantum physics. I've always wanted to know more. So I did get to study some quantum physics last year. And by studying, I mean, of course, on my own, I just mean I read a few books on it, but I actually studied them to the point that it wasn't just like I read through a book and then I threw it away. No, I read a, a, a little fragment of it, a little paragraph, and I thought about it. I studied it. I tried to understand. I watched videos. I really tried to understand various aspects of quantum physics, and it was just something that I yeah I am still interested in, and I would like to know more of. But there are, as we've been saying, you make decisions all the time, so you will stick to what is the most important to you, and of course it's music. That's the most important to me. But other things, other subjects are important to the point that yes, I am interested, but also I like using my brain for more than just music, because it also helps my music, like after studying quantum physics a year ago for about 3 months, and it was very tiring. Sometimes I thought, if I read a book in Chinese and I had a translation, if I checked every word, it would be easier than understanding these complex quantum physics. I thought that, reading in Chinese would have been easier. It was very hard, but I liked how my brain worked. I liked how actually my music, I thought was better. My phrases were better because something
Mm.
happened here, and my brain was working more and better. So I feel and I know that I am not using enough of it on a daily basis. So I am interested in other things. I have time for them. I will either watch Netflix or read an interesting book on quantum physics and gain more knowledge on different subjects outside of music, so which will be helpful to me as a musician as well. So it's choices.
Mhm.
It's a lot.
It is, and I love it. It reminds me of a quote. There is a brain that is stretched with knowledge that moves into a larger dimension will never shrink back to its old
That's
size.
a great quote. That
And I
I love
love,
that too. That's great,
yeah,
and that's a good reminder for me actually as well right now. Yeah, it's important to use the
because
brain.
it's
It will expand.
yes, because it's not like you're stretching it and you go, this is useless. It's going to go back. Like you just shared, naturally, it's helped your music because you're stretching and it's growing and it's exploding. And there's, gosh, so much that we don't even
There's
know
so
about our
much, yes,
brain.
that we don't know.
And it ties again into young girls or even, you know, older women, that if you want to try something new or you want to start something new and maybe you're scared or maybe you're fearful or maybe you're unsure, so what? If it's your choice and it's what you want to do and it makes you happy, to take the step and do it. Someone could say, "Why are you studying quantum physics? You're an accomplished violinist." And you're thinking, "Why wouldn't I study something I've always had an
Yes,
interest in?"
why?
For you, it's very, yeah, that's why. Why wouldn't I? I think we need to walk around, especially Women's History Month. Why wouldn't I? Why wouldn't I stretch and put myself out there to learn more and do more and know more? And why not? What's the worst thing that can happen? The bad part is if we don't stretch and grow and want to learn and put ourselves out there, not only what we will miss for ourselves, but what we'll miss to share with the world.
That's, yeah,
So share with me tell the audience how they can find your music. I know you've produced some albums. So
yeah.
share, brag a little bit, tell them how they can find
Thank
you.
you. Well, if just by going to my website, kingaugustyn.com, there are many links. I mean, there's a lot of information. There's of course my bio. There are links to albums. I just had this year. I had two albums released. One of them is called Turning in Time. Um, and I have to say right away that this amazing title comes from one of the compositions that's on the album, and that composition was written by Deborah Kay, who wrote the piece especially for me. other everything on the album is it's modern music, but the album was put together, the pieces were put together with an intent to make it an easily accessible listening experience. Sometimes when we hear modern music, we think, oh my god, it's gonna be something, difficult to listen to. And yes, I do stretch there a little bit, and some pieces are easier to listen to than others, but it's generally an album of great modern contemporary modern music composed between 1958 and 2018. Deborah's piece was composed in 2018, and it's great music, and it's all solo violin. Just me, just one violin, four strings, one bow, and me. It's just me, and it's really really a lot of great music, and the album is getting really nice reviews, which I'm very happy about. And then so this was released on January 1st, and the second album that was released this year is a shorter album, also of we could still say, modern music, but not that modern, and differently modern. Composed in 1987, Six Tango Etudes by Astor Piazzolla. So very, very different music from the first album. Much lighter. And so if anybody would like to hear something lighter, also solo violin. So we have a lot of variety within these two albums. We have a huge variety of solo violin music. The similarities between these two albums are, for instance, well, that both of them are solo violin, and both include music that was inspired by Johann Sebastian Bach. In case of Astor Piazzolla loved Bach, and he played Bach a lot as a younger person. So that inspiration is there in that way. And in in the first album, Turning in Time, Bach is the connecting motive in a way that the pieces on the album were inspired by music by Bach. And in Deborah's piece, we even have a direct quote from the greatest piece for solo violin that Bach wrote, which is named the Chaconne. We have a quote from that piece in Deborah's work. So it's about Bach, although it's modern. So you have a lot of variety, you have a lot to think about and experience within that album.
Which is wonderful because, as our message and your message is, there is a lot to experience and there's a lot to take in our life. And we need to live it and experience it and go down our path and make our choices and do what we want to do and live life. So I always love when I do an interview to have you share something. If there's a lot of things to share with the audience, but if there was one thing you wanted to leave them with, and especially with it being Women's History Month, so we'll tie that into Women's History Month. Here you are, a woman that grew up and thought, well, I don't know any better than to be able to do whatever it is I want to do. So that's a blessing. And in positive forward motion message to the listeners out there, if there's one thing you'd like to have them take with
Then,
them,
yeah, there is one
what would
thing.
it be?
Then it's that they already have all they need to achieve what they want. They just have to go for it. And go for it, I mean, that's a cliche, go for it. But if you really understand the meaning of that cliche, and there are many cliches that, if we if we think about, then they're very meaningful and we can learn from. So yes, you already have. I I, I like working with women. I like empowering women, and I like collaborating with women. We women have to support each other. What better way, of doing something, that's going to be meaningful. We have to support each other, but we already have what it takes. We just need to either find it in ourselves, or 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 yeah, sure, sometimes look for an inspiration outside, but we already have it. So we need to have a clarity of what it is that we want, and we already have it in ourselves to to do what we want. We already have the tools.
That is so,
But
it's
by
perfect.
tools, we have it in inside us. But the way that it will materialize may come from a totally unexpected source, from an unexpected experience. But we already have what it takes, and um, we just need to listen to ourselves, our intuition, and yeah, and follow our dreams. We're equipped.
Yes. Well, even so well said, and such big
Thank
hugs to you. And just sharing that, you don't know who we're going to touch because the podcast is worldwide, which we know is so great. And it may be that a young gal just listens to that and says, "Oh my gosh, it's just what I needed to hear. I have what it takes. I have everything. There's no need to wait until I gather it because as I move forward with what I have that it takes, you're going to build on
Exactly.
that."
We're going to build on that. Yes.
Oh,
I mean, these are things that I am
so
learning
warm.
myself, and but I think I've understood them myself by now. So this is how I can repeat them to other people, because I already know that they're true. We have what it takes.
Yes. And you are proof of that. Well, I wish you
Thank
continued
you so much.
success. I know you will. And can't wait to hear what you learn about quantum physics.
Well,
Oh
I
my
have, I have
gosh.
learned a lot. Also forgot a lot already from a year ago, but I know it's somewhere there in the brain. It's
That's
there.
right.
It's there, and
It's
I
in
can use it. I can use some of the knowledge, and it's a stepping stone to other things that I want to know and want to learn. So we should also, another thing that I
oh,
would we should, I just said that, like,
yes.
I don't mean to give advice, because it's not good to give advice, but being open to things, to experiences, is good too. So I guess opening ourselves to
Yes.
the good things that can happen, is important.
Find ways to say yes more than no. Say yes. So many times we say no to life. Say yes. And like you shared, it opens experiences, it opens new doors, it opens our eyes. And we never know what is coming in that is going to help us to get exactly where we want because we already have it inside of us. But to take that step, say yes, open to those possibilities and experiences just makes us more aware. And you're such a blessing. And I want to
Thank
thank you
you.
so much for being on Positive
It's
Forward
my pleasure,
Motion.
and thank you so much for having me. It's been lovely to talk with you and to see you, and thank you so much.
I want to thank you so much for listening today. And please remember to share this episode and follow Positive Forward Motion on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. And as always, you can also get a free PDF worksheet of this episode's show notes by going to denisescattergood.com. There you'll find a download link under each episode. Happy Women's History Month. Stay safe and healthy. And remember, no matter how small your step is, as long as you take it in the right direction, that's what I call positive forward motion.